Well, on to this now. The Department of Correctional Services has reinstated prison visits at all correctional centres in the country. This follows President Cyril Ramaphosa's lifting of the national state of disaster on Monday. Under lockdown, Alert Level 1 prison visits were limited to 2 visitors per inmate per month, and even then only 1 visitor at a time. Joining us for an update on the newly adjusted protocols is Correctional Services Deputy Minister Nkosi Phathekile Holomisa. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us. Talk to us about the sort of considerations that went into the decision to permit face-to-face visitations once again across the country.
Well, it's always desirable and proper that inmates in our centers, be they sentenced or unsentenced offenders, must be visited on a regular basis by their relatives and friends. This is part of the rehabilitation program that we have, which is meant to ensure that by the time the offenders or inmates are eligible for release, be it on parole at the end of their sentences, they have places to go to. They have families who will be able to give them support so that they are integrated properly into the system. So the fact then that we were not able to allow visitations to these inmates and offenders hampered our progress in terms of the reintegration programs and rehabilitation programs that they undertake. But even though we do extend now the hours and the dates of meetings, we still have to observe protocols. Even if there will be face-to-face visitations, there won't be touching. There will be social distancing, and wearing of masks will still be required. Sanitation processes will have to be followed. This is done in order to protect the health of the inmates themselves, their visitors, as well as our health officials and the community at large.
Well, Deputy Minister, you mentioned how integral a role visitations play in the rehabilitation of our prisoners, and it's made me curious about whether or not there was any sort of impact over the last 2.5 years or so, where there was quite a drastic reduction in visitations amongst inmates. Were there any ramifications as a result of that? Were there any forms of regression, in fact, noticeable as a result of that?
Well, in terms of the numbers of people who should have been released at a particular time, the numbers have clearly decreased, because we want to always make sure that the person has people who are interested in their well-being, that when they are released, they will be released to a family, and the community also will be in a position to receive them, so that they are properly integrated into the society. It's crucially important that a person who has to be released, especially one who has not finished his sentence because he's being released on parole, he must have a family that is going to accept him. Otherwise, there's going to be regression. He's going to fall back into a life of crime because he has nowhere to go.
Well, we know, Deputy Minister, that the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions is a phenomenon that's happening worldwide. Something else that has been occurring worldwide is the reintroduction of visitations to prisons, and alongside that, the debate around vaccine mandates. And I'm curious if this is a discussion that South Africa is having itself. I know in Australia, for instance, that visitations there now require visitors to have proof of vaccination before they have access to the inmate. Is this a similar trajectory that South Africa could perhaps take on?
Well, at the moment, as you would know, government is not forcing people, even if they are offenders or inmates, to get vaccinated. But we do encourage them. And in fact, we are encouraged as a department that the number of persons vaccinated is quite high, even though it is not at the level that we would have wanted it to be. We have, for instance, 119,972 inmates that have been fully vaccinated. while you have 23,220 officials who have been fully vaccinated. That is 58% of the officials and 88% of the inmates. So that is a good sign that people are indeed keen on making sure that they protect their life. And one way of protecting your life and health at this stage with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic is getting vaccinated and getting boosters. As I said, the numbers are not as pleasing as they should be, but we would like them to be. We are in fact encouraging the officials and offenders to get more of their numbers getting higher.
Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your time. We are going to leave it there.